Hi, everybody. So it's time for some February TBR updates. I made excellent progress with the mid-January, early February TBR. I have recently finished People of the Book and The Song of Achilles. And yesterday I went to the bookstore and picked up my copy of Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This book is so good so far. I am on chapter 14 and I have read 182 pages. So basically, the basic synopsis of this book is it's the wedding between a vampire bride and a werewolf, and it's a marriage of convenience. So I sort of get Twilight vibes from the characters in this book a little bit, like Bella and Jacob, if they had gotten married instead of Bella and Edward. So I'm not sure if that was what Ali Hazelwood was trying to go with these characters, but that's the vibe that I'm getting from them based on what I've been reading so far. So I wanted to review the books that I have completed, the one DNF, and then the books that I'm reading. I also returned a couple of books to the library yesterday. So the first book that I recently finished was Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, the same woman who wrote One for My Enemy, which I just finished on Monday. Here's what this book is about. Two people meet in the Art Institute by chance. Prior to their encounter, he is a doctoral student who manages his destructive thoughts with compulsive calculations about time travel. She is a bipolar counterfeit artist undergoing court-ordered psychotherapy. By the end of the story, these things will still be true. But this is not a story about endings. For Reagan, people are predictable and tedious, including and perhaps especially herself. She copes with her dreariness of existence by living impulsively, imagining an alternate timeline being created in the wake of every rash decision. To Aldo, the world feels disturbingly chaotic. He goes through his days of erecting a wall of routine, a backbeat of rules and formulas that keep him going. Without them, the entire framework of his existence would collapse. For Reagan and Aldo, life has a matter of resigning themselves to blueprints of inevitability until the two meet. Could 6 conversations with a stranger be the variable that shakes up this entire simulation? So this book was really good. I would definitely give it 4.75 stars on Goodreads. I also gave One for My Enemy 5 stars. It's one of my first 5 stars of the year. I mean, most of the books I've read so far this year have been, the ones that haven't been rereads have been have been between 3 and 5 stars, except for the one DNF, which I will get to in a minute. The next romantic comedy book that I'm going to be reviewing in my Valentine's Day special next week is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I actually pre-recorded the video where I review this book a couple of days ago. So I don't actually want to spoil what this book is about because I talk about it in my other video. So stay tuned for my thoughts on this book in that video, which will be out at 11 a.m. on Valentine's Day. The next book is my first DNF book of the year. Haley and Rachel and Sarah have given reviews of this book on their channels, and their opinions have been pretty mixed about it. But I decided to DNF it, and I gave it 3 stars. I think the biggest issue that I had was that the character was sleeping for a year, and as I read this book, I am also listening to the audiobook of Friends Lovers in a Big Terrible Thing. And I think I made the mistake of reading this book the other night after I finished listening to chapter 6 of Frontal version of the Big Terrible Thing. And one thing Matthew Perry mentions in this book is essentially how he has trouble sleeping and how all he wants to do is sleep. And basically that's what we have our main female protagonist here dealing with. What's her name? Alright, so I don't think this main character even has a name that's distinguished. Anyway, so this is actually set in 2000, so it's pretty, I wouldn't say present day, but it's more modern. But, I mean, Rachel Katherine made a comment that she thought this book was historical fiction based on the fact that this girl looks like she's from like the early 1900s when this book is actually set in the 2000s. So I did not like this main character. I thought she was too whiny. She is a rich Manhattan socialite whose parents pass away, and she's all set up to live on her own. So basically the way Rachel Katherine summed up her personality in her review is that she's having a midlife crisis when she's only 24. And her psychotherapist responds to this by putting her on a whole bunch of medication that makes her go to sleep for a year. And yeah, I just didn't think this character was very likable. I thought the therapist handled the situation with her very poorly, so I DNF'd this book after 140 pages. The next book that I just finished is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This is a thriller mystery. I had trouble figuring out where the plot twists were in this book. So I think I may have to actually go back and reread it again to see if I can understand how the plot twists work into things, because I had trouble picking up on that. But overall, this book is good. I gave it 3.75 stars on Goodreads. Another book that I forgot to bring in here with me is The Crucible of God, which is a Terramine anthology series novel by Naomi Novick. Naomi Novick is definitely one of my favorite fantasy authors. I love all of the books that I've read by her, especially Uprooted and the Schoolman's Trilogy. And the next book I'm trying to get from her by her at the library, which was checked out the last time I checked, is called Spinning Silver, which I think is the sequel to Uprooted. So I'm looking forward to reading that next. Crucible of Gold, not Crucible of God. And I gave that 4.75 stars. So this next book is Exalted. And it's the story of a Instagram influencer who posts about astrology, who who is hitting a rough patch where she is having trouble deciding if she wants to continue posting about astrology. And like, I can relate to how she feels, because I felt the same way about this entertainment blog ever since last summer, before my Matthew Perry scam that I dealt with. So I like this book. It's quite enjoyable. I am on page 200 at the moment. The next book I decided to pick up to read in honor of Black History Month. It's called Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead. This book takes place in the 1960s, and it is a historical fiction book about drug dealers. So it's very interesting. I'm really enjoying this so far. I am on chapter 7. Well, actually, this is This is one of those books that's like dual POV, so I'm in chapter 7 of one of the second character's POVs, and I am on page... I have read up to this point 183 pages. The next book is another historical fiction book that is set during World War II. It's a autobiographical story of the author's grandmother. Her name is Millie Bobby Brown, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe this actress is from the TV show Stranger Things. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I just started this book today, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's very interesting. I am currently on page 73. The next book that I'm reading is my fourth Elin Hildenbrand book. I have also read 28 Summers, Summer of 69, and oh, there was one more. What is it? I forget. I just finished it too, but the title is escaping me right now. Oh, The Hotel Nantucket. So this book is called The 5-Star Weekend, and this is the synopsis. Hollis Shaw's life seems picture perfect. She's the creator of the popular food blog Hungry with Hollis and is married to Matthew, a dreamy heart surgeon. But after she and Matthew get into a heated argument one snowy morning, he leaves for the airport and is killed in a car accident. The cracks in Hollis's perfect life have her strained marriage and her complicated relationship with her daughter Caroline grow deeper. So, when Hollis hears about something called a 5-star weekend, one woman organizes a trip for her best friends from each phase of her life. Her teenage years, her 20s, her 30s, and her midlife. She decides to host her own 5-star weekend on Nantucket. But her weekend doesn't turn out as joyful to be a joyful Hallmark movie. The husband of Hollis's childhood friend, Tatum, arranges for Hollis's first love, Jack Finnegan, to spend time with them, stirring up old feelings. Meanwhile, Tatum is forced to play nice with the abrasive and elitist Drew Ann, Hollis's best friend from UNC Chapel Hill. Drew Ann's career as a prominent Chicago sports agent is in jeopardy after her comments about a client's mental health issues are misconstrued online. Brooke, Hollis's friend from their 30s, has just discovered that her husband is having an inappropriate relationship with a woman at work. Again. And then there's Gigi, a stranger to everyone, including Hollis, who reached out to Hollis on her blog. Gigi embodies an unusual grace, and as it happens, has many secrets. The 5-Star Weekend is a surprising and captivating story about friendship, love, and self-discovery set on Nantucket. It will be a weekend like no other. I really love this book. I think out of all of the friends that participate in a 5-star weekend, my favorite character is probably Drew Ann, her friend from college. She's the most interesting one. And so far, I am on page 241. The final two books that are in my TBR right now are by Katherine, who is one of my new favorite authors. I have previously read 2 other books by her back in December. They were called How to Walk Away and Hello Stranger. So, here is what this book is about, What You Wish For. Samantha Casey is a school librarian who loves her job, the kids, her school family with passion and a joy for living, but she wasn't always that way. Duncan Carpenter is the new school principal who lives by rules, regulations, guided by the knowledge that bad things can happen, but he wasn't always that way. And Sam knows it because she knew him before at another school in a different life. But back then, she loved him, but was invisible to him, to everyone, even to herself. She escaped to a new school, a new job, a new chance of living. But then, Duncan, of all people, gets hired as a new principal there. Although it feels like the worst thing that could possibly happen to Sam, it feels like the best thing that could possibly happen to the school, until the opposite turns out to be true. The lovable Duncan she had known is now a suit and tie wearing, rule-reinforcing tough guy who's so hell-bent on protecting the school that he's willing to destroy it. As the school community spirals into chaos and danger from all corners looms large, Sam and Duncan must find their way to who they really are, what it means to be brave, and how to take a chance on love, which is the riskiest move of all. With Katherine Center's sparkling dialogue, unforgettable characters, heart, hope, and humanity. What you wish for is the author at her most compelling best. So I am on chapter 13 right now, page 153, and like Emily Henry, Katherine Center is really good at writing banter, and I just love the banter in this book between Sam and Duncan. And the other Katherine Center book that I'm reading is Things That You Save in a Fire, and this book is about Cassie Howell was born to handle emergencies. As one of the only female firefighters in her Texas firehouse, she's seen her fair share of them, and she's a total pro at managing other people's tragedies. But when her estranged and ailing mother asks her to give up her life and move to Boston, Cassie suddenly has an emergency of her own. The tough old-school Boston firehouse is different from Cassie's old job as it could be. Hazing, a lack of funding, and poor facilities mean the firemen aren't exactly thrilled to have a lady on the crew, even one as competent and smart as Cassie. Except for the infatuation-inspiring rookie, who doesn't seem to mind having Cassie around. But she can't think about that because love is girly and it's not her thing. And don't forget the advice her old captain gave her, never date firefighters. Cassie can feel her resolve slipping, and it means risking it all. The only job she's ever loved and the hero she's worked like hell to become. Katherine Center's Things You Save in a Fire, the heartfelt and healing tour de force about the strength of vulnerability, the nourishing magic of forgiveness, and the life-changing power of defining courage for at last for yourself. So I am loving this book so far. I am on page 123, chapter 15. So that's my bookstore, my library haul, and I wanted to talk about Bride also. I am going to the library to pick up more books on Friday, and I will be doing another library haul video on Friday, where I am hoping that these books will finally be coming in. Atomic Habits, Archer's Voice, Behind the Net, Divine Rivals, and Never. And then I am also borrowing 3 books from my friend Kate, By a Thread, If the Shoe Fits, and Rock Bottom Girl. So, I will be doing my February wrap-up video probably on February 25th because I'm going to New York at the beginning of March and I want to get my monthly wrap-up video for February out of the way before I go on my trip. So stay tuned next week for my Valentine's Day special, which is 2 parts, and my monthly wrap-up video, which will be around February 25th. Have a great day.